All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. We're bringing back in Brooks Radio here. Isaac, my buddy, welcome back.
Thanks. It's good to be here. Hopefully, I can redeem myself after my Mitchell Trubisky take last time I was on.
What was that, week 3? Mitchell Trubisky was not dominating, but he had like 13 DK points right before the half or third quarter, and then Nick Foles came in. They took him out.
Yeah, and that's the thing but I will say that's the point that I was making. Like, I didn't like Mitchell Trubisky to win the game. I just liked him for fantasy points,
Yeah.
and so at the very least, he was on the right track in that sense. Of course, Foles ended up picking up where he left off and getting a win there. But ever since then, I mean, Foles has been the other Foles.
The one that we know, yeah. So I will say we'll be doing kind of a different stream setup, and I'll pull that up right now, guys. So basically, if there's any issues going on in the video, just make sure to let us know. Trying to do a little bit different setup here. So I got a single cam for me, and then I got a single guest cam here for Brooks. So we'll be doing it like this. So we're doing the game-by-game breakdown. Do you want to get started with the first game, Isaac?
Yeah, this is so weird. Only, 5 noon games and 6 for the 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock games, which is, I brought this up, but the first time in a non-Week 17 year since 2011, which was like Week 3 in 2011, mostly because of the Masters. So, interesting there.
You can't just go over the Masters. Most of the people from 9 to 5 are PGA DFS guys, so it's actually going pretty good.
On that note, I was just about to ask, how's it going? How are you feeling? I know the cuts were a little different because of the daylight and stuff.
Cuts were, it was an insane, like, cut sweat and whatnot. Actually, it was just weird. So my best lineup had 6 for 6. It actually had Cam Smith, who's in second, DJ, Sebastian Munoz, and then Abraham Answer, who are all just like doing really well. If the cut line hadn't been with Bryson and all these other guys making it, there would have been a chance that I could win a GPP this week, although now it's looking like it's only going to be like a top 1% finish, which isn't bad, but obviously that's not huge money, but that was kind of bittersweet there. But still, it's a fun Masters, man. I'm excited for the Masters.
Yeah, you and me both. But let's get right into it. The Buccaneers at the Panthers. As far as the spread goes, Tampa Bay, they're favored by 5.5 points. Last time, Bucs got it done. And it's, once again, the interesting thing for me is Tom Brady going off of another bounce back game for him. In fact, I just saw a note. Whenever he has like a single digit performance, the 4 that he's had, he averages 21.3 fantasy points a week after. So good little bounce back game opportunity for Tom Brady. Who else do you like in this?
That's interesting. I did not see that stat about Tom Brady there. That's actually pretty crazy there. I don't really like that much in this game, though. In all honesty, like Tom Brady, that is an interesting tidbit. Obviously, with all those weapons, I think it was just kind of the guys that are already there were kind of mad. AB probably got some playing time and whatnot, but the whole offense just getting acclimated to that. But you got Tom Brady throwing the ball 45, 40, 38 times the last 3 weeks. That's a ton. And the Panthers are a decent defense, so I actually don't mind that Tom Brady call, although I don't know what I'm going to do at quarterback now with the weather going on. We'll talk about that in a second here. So maybe we do end up on Tom Brady. That's not a bad call, but I think the big play here is actually Mike Davis. With Christian McCaffrey out, he's the minimum price at running back today, although he's going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Hard to know exactly what to do there, just because you just saw Alvin Kamara even struggle against the Bucs. You saw the Packers struggle on the ground against the Bucs. Those are 2 great offenses. It's like, how much can we really expect from Mike Davis? That's the question. Is his passing game going to be enough of a floor? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Stay away, or is it just good enough to hit value?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the only thing I would maybe say is I think there might be better options out there, just because of the conditions, which we'll talk about a lot. We can at least assume the running game will be favored a little bit. One other player I kind of like this week would be Robbie Anderson, just because he's become such a target hog, and if the Bucs do get that lead early, you might get a little bit of game script. You might get a decent amount of And he's been pretty much matchup for the most part because of that target share rate. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind him. He's seen at least 8 targets in 7 of 9 games this season, and over 50 yards in 6 of those contests. So.
His targets are absolutely crazy. I get that. That's not a bad call. You could do a little game stack there with the early games kind of being bad weather games. I actually don't mind the idea of kind of doing an early game stack with this one.
Totally.
Let me get into some questions here real quick. So we got a question. Davante Adams shipped lowered. So the last time the Packers had a bad weather game, I was like, I'm going to get off of Adams a little bit, and then he went off for like 30 DK points. So I don't really know exactly what to do. Obviously, you don't feel good about it, but just still.
I found an unreal nugget about Davante Adams in cold weather games.
Let's hear it.
It's I'm just pulling it up right now. It's it's the funniest thing ever. Like he does, just point being is he does significantly better in cold weather games than he does in just neutral weather games. So don't be afraid of Davante. Like
you're still going to get the targets. They might not be as quality of targets, but they're still going to be there. And I was saying on the last time when weather was really affecting the slate, it's like, sure, as a whole, it's going to affect the whole game, but still everyone's playing in the same weather. Everyone's still going to have to pass and whatnot. So in a play-by-play basis, you don't know exactly how much the weather's going to predict it.
So he's had 27 cold weather games, which is about 21 to 40 degrees. And in those games, he has had 19 touchdowns, which is more touchdowns than he's had across 42 games played in mild and warm weather combined.
That's crazy. He just has the proper cleats on, I guess, gets better footing or something. That's insane, dude.
So that doesn't affect him. I mean, Rodgers has a slight decline, it looks like, with cold and wind, but again, he's still playing out of his mind. Davante Adams is putting up ridiculous numbers, like Calvin Johnson type numbers.
Yep.
So I'm not worried about either of them. And Davante's played 6 games, and doing these unreal numbers. So
should we get into that game next?
Yeah, that's a good transition. And this game intrigues me a lot because of the weather. And we're going to do a lot of overthinking and also underthinking, where normally, and we talked about this, a lot of times with matchups and everything like that, we think about, cheap plays and stuff like that. This time around, it's you kind of played safe, and a lot of times you can reap benefits from that, because a lot of times I try and reach and grab a guy, like I'll try and do an Adam Humphries play and stuff like that and get really excited about it. And it's like, all right, cool. You got 2 catches for 14 yards. So the one note, the Packers are 13-point favorites. They don't lose in those kind of games. They're 14-3 against teams with a winning percentage of 125 or worse. Rodgers also 15-2 as 12+ point favorites.
That's crazy.
So even conditions too, they're a cold weather team, Lambeau, the whole deal. What I do like, I like the running game for both sides. Even if the for James Robinson, even if it is one of those game flow things, he's been pretty much that hasn't stopped him all year. He's still getting 20+ touches a game. He's been kind of a true bell cow. And I mean, if anything, the Vikings kind of gave that formula on how to beat the Packers. Just run it down their throats. I mean, and just commit to the run. So I like both running backs in this because of the conditions, and 2, just the formula for both teams to really win and be successful.
Yeah, I agree completely there, actually. And the problem for me with this slate was that I was thinking about game stacking this game just like in cash purposes, because it was so easy to stack. So you already mentioned James Robinson. With the weather being the way it is, the game might not blow out as early. It might stay a little bit closer. I do agree with the spread still. So, James Robinson should still play a good amount of snaps. But here was my original build. I'm going to do it right now. Aaron Jones, James Robinson, Davante Adams, obviously Aaron Rodgers in there. And then I actually really did like Chris Conley for a value play. He had 8 targets last week with Laviska Shenault out, with DJ Chark getting the Jari Alexander coverage, shadow coverage most likely.
Is Jair still playing?
Is who?
Is Jair still playing? I know he was a little bit banged up.
Either way, that's just another quality defensive player that Conley won't have to worry about. So I was pumped to play him, but
he was doubtful the last report I
Gotcha.
see here. So
well, good. Sit out, get healthy for my sake.
Right, priorities if you're a Packer fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's funny. The Chris Conley note too you mentioned. This is the state of the Jaguars where Chris Conley is a captain.
Yeah. Receiver number 3 for the Chiefs. Back in
Chris Conley is a captain right now, and I remember like seeing that name for the first time in how long. I'm like, wow, that's right. Chris Conley is still a thing, but yeah, not a bad play, and you could totally load up that game if you'd like to.
Yeah, still the weather is a worrisome, but still, it's not bad. You never know how much the weather's going to affect it. So I'm going to get into some questions here real quick as well. Again, so actually, Infamous 9to5 member with PGA, he was winning a FanDuel contest after round 1 for the Masters, and maybe he'll come back around. We'll see. You never know with the Sunday sweats, but I think it like dropped off a little bit. But he was winning it. I was like, oh, this could be awesome.
Right.
So hopefully still win some good money, but we got Aaron in the chat right now and Jimmy right now. Yeah. So Aaron's wondering about Duke the Truth. I don't know about that one. Not bad, but not a bad nickname there.
I mean that's another condition game. I mean you've got some weather there with. I mean.
Houston, Cleveland.
Yeah, they're going to have to get Duke involved if they want a chance at this game. Another person that has struggled, I know, with cold weather or just wind and conditions like that is Deshaun Watson. Mm-hmm. I got to pull this up, but he's not been a quarterback to do that. So even like Will Fuller, and we can just transition to this game. Yeah. Because I mean, Will Fuller is I kind of want to say Will Ferrell, but Will Fuller is a tough start this week just because of that. Cleveland's favored by 3.5 points. Interesting note there, and I mean, it's kind of the one versus the other because Deshaun Watson has 6 straight games with multiple passing touchdowns, second longest streak outside of Russell Wilson. But again, the conditions there too. And I don't know. I don't like to be in total fear with conditions, but still, it's the truth. I mean, it's something you need to consider. Get this. So in windy conditions, he's had 5 touchdowns and 228 passing yards per game across 4 games of windy conditions. So only 5 touchdowns over those 4 games with windy conditions. So. Something to consider there. Again, Will Fuller, I mean, I don't expect any deep balls to him. He'll just have to be chippy, and hopefully he can get some yards after the catch. Yeah, Brandon Cooks might be a decent play. It's the running backs here, too. I mean, and I'm not sure what you think, but that's definitely, I think, the key to success for both teams.
Yeah, so for me with this game, I was actually really looking forward to stacking this game as well. It was super easy to stack. You got Baker, who was kind of priced up a little bit, but he would have been worth the risk to me. You got Chubb, Hunt, and Duke Johnson, who honestly could have played all 3 of them, put one of them in the flex. Probably 30 points with those 3. And then Will Fuller, Jarvis Landry, and Brandon Cooks would have been guys that are probably going to see around 30 targets that probably would have had around 30 DK points as well. It was such an easy game to stack, this game and the Jacksonville Green Bay game, and now it's very risky now. The point totals are being lowered because of the weather. It kind of sucks, honestly. The 2 best, I don't want to say 2 best games, but the 2 easiest games to stack now, we're really having to think about it because Brandon Cooks has been seeing like almost 10 targets a game since Bill O'Brien had been fired. Jarvis Landry with OBJ out was looking like he was going to be a great play as well. So really unfortunate there that we're really just having dart throws now with this game. I'll do the game stack here real quick. So Baker, I don't know. I think the best route would be to pick and choose between Hunt and Chubb, but it's really it's a dart throw there. But I mean, look how it's just such an easy build there. Really, just unfortunate there. Let me get to some more questions here. How do you feel about Chark in the same game? Chark today, I wouldn't play him in DFS at all. I'd definitely stay away from him, Aaron. I know you're mostly asking for season-long purposes. I'm still worried about him season-long as well. I like Jake Luton last week because he was going against the Houston Texans. This week in a sloppy game against the Packers, it is a little bit worrisome with him. overthinking and underthinking at the same time makes you level. Jimmy Carney, words of wisdom right there. Right. Commissioner Carney coming in. Would you play?
The only thing about Chark is the fact that Lutton, I mean, he was his target. I mean, and that's kind of been the course of the season, but especially Lutton's first game, I mean, it was all Chark. Yeah. So if this game does get away early, and they end up abandoning the run, there could definitely be something there, especially if Jair isn't playing.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough with the weather and whatnot. So, would you play Jones and Adams in the same game for Mikey? Yeah, I'm still fine with that. It's less of a cash route. It's more of a GPP route now with the weather situation, but I still think you can get away with it. Jimmy's asking about Richie James. With Brandon Ayuk back, I'd be caution about it. The appeal with Richie James and why he was a captain's pick last Thursday for 9 to 5 was that he was going to be in the Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel role. Now with Deebo Samuel back, you kind of worry about that. And then one quick question here. Thoughts on Kamara and Mike Thomas pivot from Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams? I'm fine with that, Andre. I don't love it. But once again, it's kind of the slate we have now. So I'm fine with it. It makes sense. It's much safer now. But I still think Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams have more upside in this one. So
totally. On that note, moving on. So we have the Eagles taking on the Giants. The Eagles are 3.5-point favorites. It looks like the Eagles are starting to finally get their team back and healthy, which is extremely intriguing. You have Miles Sanders. You have their right tackle Lane Johnson. You have their guard back. You have Dallas Goedert. You have Alshon Jeffrey, Jalen Reagor. It's a totally different team from their last matchup. I mean, literally, who were you missing from that? I mean, there's Zach Ertz. That's about it. But otherwise, I mean, this should be the Eagles team, and I think there's some opportunity there just because we've been sleeping on the Eagles for them to start turning the season around now that they're healthy and catch people by surprise a couple games. So it'll be interesting as far as players go. I mean, Miles Sanders definitely would be exciting considering their now healthy offensive line, for the lack of a better term, and just again at the Giants, decent little matchup there. I would definitely do that. I don't know what else you think here.
Yeah, let me pull up my screen here. So yeah, Miles Sanders, I think he's a big play guy. The worry about him is slowly getting acclimated back to the offense. His touches were already kind of limited when he was sort of battling an injury earlier on in the season. So that's the worry with him. Although great GPP play, I don't mind his price point. Worth the risk in like a low owned play for GPPs and whatnot. That's fine. Did have a question about like FanDuel favorite quarterback. And there isn't a favorite just because of the weather situation. It was Rodgers, it was Baker, and Watson. I'm worried about those two now. I would actually be fine with Carson Wentz. We just touched on it. All of his weapons are back. He's actually had a pretty nice floor, even though he's looked horrible. Even against Dallas, where we saw him play horrible, he was still able to get double-digit DK points, which obviously you want more than that, but still not bad. He had 31 against the Giants the last time they played. He has all of his weapons back. Other than that, I'm worried about Fogelham a little bit, just with everyone back. I love Sterling Shepard, though, as a safe play. The guy has just been a target machine. There's only been one game where he started and finished over the last, I think it was like 20 weeks, where he didn't see 6 or more targets, which, insane. So I love the targets there. Creates a nice safe floor, over 10 DK points the last 3 weeks. He's kind of my go-to safe play on the slate now with the weather situation that we have. So other than that, not much that I love except for Dallas Goedert. I favor him over Evan Ingram just because the target should be there for him. Although Evan Ingram, dude, that's been the most annoying thing I think this season. 10 targets last week, 10 targets the week before that, 9 targets the week before that.
Frustrates me so much.
Gosh, he should be dominating in these easy matchups too. It's like, how is this happening? How are you not dominating with these targets in these easy matchups? He's Eric Ebron pretty much. Not consistent.
one argument you could make is Daniel Jones. Part of the problem.
Yes.
This might be my favorite stat of the day, and it's not even that much fantasy related, but Daniel Jones has lost 16 straight games against all opponents not named Washington.
Dude, and Washington is the better team, and they still lost. That was so frustrating.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, that's the only team Daniel Jones and the Giants can get it done against. Otherwise, nope. They've been competitive in some games, but that's about it. I mean, and it's a lot of turnovers too. He's had at least one turnover, Daniel Jones, in 20 of 22 career games played.
That's crazy. I will say though, he has looked better with his kind of weapons back, if you will. Sterling Shepard back healthy, Golden Tate back healthy. Obviously Slayton and Ingram kind of all gelling together. He has looked better with everyone there. Obviously Saquon's still out, but yeah, kind of annoying there. But
on that note, we have an indoor game, and you mentioned Washington. Washington 2-6 at the 3-5 Lions. Detroit, they're 3.5 point favorites. And I messed with this game a little bit with the noon slate. I had Matthew Stafford as just kind of this boring but safe, just because indoors type of player. I know there's no Kenny Golladay, but I mean him, Hawkinson. I mean he'll be able to get you like 15 to 20 points. It's not like decent floor. It won't be anything exciting. And this, I mean, honestly, I actually like both Washington running backs this week, and it kills me to say J.D. McKissic, but the fact that I mean, Antonio Gibson has the great matchup. He's has a bunch of great matchups ahead. I mean, honestly, if you're in season-long fantasy, I'd be trying to acquire him right now. But so Antonio Gibson, he'll be getting the ball going. But then J.D. McKissic had he's a top 27 running back in 3 out of the past 4 games, and he had about, I think, 9 catches off like 14 freaking targets with Alex Smith last week. So he'll definitely get some catches against one of the worst defenses against running backs.
Yeah, McKissic has actually casually been a safe play kind of the whole year. It's kind of crazy, but a lot of it is dependent on game flow. So I will say, like, if you are stacking it and you think the Lions are going to win, obviously Matthew Stafford, maybe even my boy Quintez Cephas in there. We'll see about that. I don't know about that too much. I want it to happen, but you would throw McKissic in there as like the run it back play, because he's going to be the guy getting the ball in the pass game a lot more if the Lions are up. Now, if you think Washington's going to be up, you play Antonio Gibson and you play Washington defense, and you're kind of sitting decent there. So I do like this game kind of sneakily stack wise as well. Like you were just saying, you could easily fit Alex Smith or Matthew Stafford, to be honest with you guys, but whatever you want to do there. You could go McLaurin. You could go still Danny Amendola. I still don't mind Quintez Cephas. He didn't look bad. He's still 3K on the slate. Almost got a lucky special teams touchdown last week, but okay for a punt play. TJ Hawkinson is questionable, but best matchup for a tight end pretty much this whole season. It seems like he's going to play. We have to wait and see on that. That could open up some value there. On Detroit, though, maybe Jesse James becomes a factor. I honestly, Jesse James would probably just be a lock if TJ Hawkinson is ruled out, but that's the big news we're waiting on pretty much for the early slate.
What are your thoughts on Detroit's running game this time around?
So I love DeAndre Swift. I wish they would get him the ball a lot more. I've kind of said that. I predicted his breakout, if you will. When they're coming off the bye, I'm sure the Lions are going to go into film and say, hey, we need to get this guy the ball more. And that's exactly what they did, although the touches have still been somewhat limited. So for me, when you're getting that limited touches at that price point, I still worry about it. So I kind of just like to stick away from that.
I still don't understand how Matt Patricia still has a job right now.
He won't.
I mean, it's so frustrating just with how that team operates. But on that note, this is probably one of the top matchups, in my opinion, most intriguing. The 7-2 Bills at the 5-3 Cardinals heading into the 4:00 games. I don't think I missed any of those 5 noon games.
No. Do you want to do a quick pick 'em though for the early games?
Yeah, let's get those quick. On that note, we had the Bucks at Panthers again. Tampa Bay 5.5-point favorites. Who do you got there?
So, jeez, the Panthers have been keeping games close. Although, man, I'm gonna go with the Bucks, I guess. Although this is one where I'd like to stay away from because the Panthers have been a solid team. I would most likely just want to stay away. But for purposes of this, I'm gonna go with the Bucks.
Yeah, I'll take the Bucks, but I like the Panthers to cover for that reason. They have done a very good job. Give Teddy and that team credit for keeping themselves in games.
Yeah.
The 1-7 Jags at the 6-2 Packers. Packers 13-point favorites. I think we both have the Packers. It's just a matter of. Do you think the Jags cover?
I don't want to say I kind of do. Your stats had me very intrigued there that you're giving. I kind of think that they do, just given the weather. But I think the Packers will pull it out at the end of the game. Like, maybe if there was a first half bet you could do point spread wise, I would think that would be a lot closer in the first half, and then the Packers figure it out in the second half. That's kind of how I'd approach it. But obviously, I think the Packers are going to win. I'll go with the Jags to cover, though.
See, I think I'm going to go with the Packers still, both ways, because I see them scoring early, setting the tone. This feels like one of those games where it's like, all right, or it might be one of those, the Jags score 14 unanswered and then the Packers score 35 unanswered or something like that. Where I don't know. And again, like I said, they get it done against crappy teams, and I don't see that being any different here. The Texans at the Browns, Cleveland, a 3.5-point favorite. I like Cleveland and then some.
I'm the exact opposite.
Are you?
Yeah, exact opposite. Yeah, I think Houston's going to win this one, so it's just a matter of how much at that point. I don't know. They've been a solid team since Bill O'Brien's been fired. You do worry about the weather kind of being the equalizer there. Obviously, the Texans really don't have a power back with the weather situation, so that could become a factor. I know you kind of gave your Watson stats, which do scare me out of that. If it was a nice weather game, I'd probably favor the Texans a little bit more than I do. But
yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
Oh, this weather is definitely making an influence on this decision for me.
Yeah.
And I like Kevin Stefanski's offense being able to adapt to these conditions and utilize those running backs. So I'm going to go with the Browns there. And then Eagles at the Giants. Eagles are 3.5-point favorites.
Dude, it sucks. All these games are just tough lately. Early in the season, it was pretty easy. You kind of knew what teams were. Now it's like they're getting good at it. Vegas is getting good.
No, I mean, even remember I was talking so much about how that the last time I was on the Vikings-Titans, I'm like, why is this spread so small? Why is this spread so small? I was like, this is ridiculous. And breaking down all these things, and then surely enough, the Vikings covered. Yeah. So on that note, I think I'm still going to go with the Eagles here with the points.
Yeah.
They're healthy. I already said the Daniel Jones thing.
Yep. Same.
Yeah. And then we have the Redskins at the Lions again. Detroit 3.5-point favorites. Who do you got?
I'm going with Washington with this one. I do worry about Alex Smith. I actually really like Kyle Allen. He was doing really well just managing games and whatnot. So I do worry just Alex Smith. He looked better last week than he did the first time he replaced Kyle Allen. So I like the Washington football team. I think they're just a solid team overall. I do worry about the Detroit Lions without Kenny Galladay. Stafford has looked a little bit deer in headlights, although he's managed to at least be fine DK-wise. So, like, DFS-wise, I don't mind Stafford at all, but, like, betting purposes, he has struggled without Kenny Galladay, so I'm going Washington.
Yeah, I was actually going to go Washington there, too. I figured that spread would actually be a little bit closer. I'm with you. I think they've had a little bit of quarterback, like shuffling and stuff, but, I mean, they're not that bad. But, again, I think people just overlook them. So the 4 o'clock games, then we have the Bills 7-2 at the Cards. Cards are 2.5-point favorites. Who do you have for DFS? And then we'll get our picks in then too.
Yeah, let's go to that game. Let me pull it up. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I I think this is interesting. The Cards are second in pass block win rate this season. And then the Bills rank fourth in pass rush win rate. So something's got to give there. And then, like, this is my favorite thing about Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is one of 3 players over the past 4 weeks with 225 rushing yards and 3 scores. The other 2, Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry.
That is pretty crazy.
And yeah, I mean, Kyler Murray is putting up MVP numbers. I mean, it's the Jordan year for him, and it's why I was kind of hyped up for him. And surely enough, he's producing. Also, Buffalo is allowing an average of 4.6 yards per carry, and Murray's averaging 7.1.
Yeah, I mean, I always am weird about the yards per carry for when it's a quarterback, but still, either way, there's not a good defense. So Kyler Murray, honestly, like, I've been trying to find ways to pay out for him just because of that safety that he presents on this slate, where there's really only 2 quarterbacks that I like, and we'll touch on another one in a second here. Either I'm paying up for Kyler Murray for that safe floor of like 25 DK points and just like get out of here. I think it's going to be a raw points week where Kyler Murray makes a ton of sense. Yeah, Josh Allen's not horrible, though, but at 7.5, I just can't do that, where he struggled. I actually really like Diggs in this one. I'm going back to the well with him. The guy has been a target machine over, I think I would have to pull it up on the 9 to 5 page for the stat that I had, but the dude's pretty much been averaging, I think it was 9.9 targets this season per game, which is crazy. Obviously, he hasn't scored below 10 DK points this whole year, so I really love Diggs as a play. Decent matchup. He should be able to go off still.
Yeah, what do you think of like Chase Edmonds in this?
No, just the problem is that I like Chase Edmonds. The problem is Kyler just rushes the ball too much, so nothing you can do there.
It's frustrating for Arizona running back owners, that's for sure, because of that. I'm with you on all of those. Another betting nugget: Buffalo, they're 1-4 against the spread over the past 5 games overall, and in its past 5 road games. Again, Arizona, they're 2.5-point favorites. Who do you like as far as?
So I got DK Sportsbook pulled up. I got Buffalo at 3 +3, so I'm going to go with Buffalo at +3. I kind of like that, actually. They're just a great team. Like, defense has lacked, but coaching's great, offense is great.
And they're starting to get healthy a little bit too. I like the Bills in this one. I think I don't know. I feel like the Bills are the most over and underhyped team this year, because I think there's all this excitement with the new team in the AFC East, so there's a hype there. But then it's easy to sleep on them too, because you're like, oh, it's Buffalo.
So just confidence-wise with these picks, I would say I'm like 55 to like 65% confident with these picks. AK, not that confident at all. What about you with those over and unders and?
Yeah, I mean, I love talking. And I mean, most of these, it's been pretty. Yeah, I mean, I'm almost, my lack of confidence is giving me more confidence because of knowing how things. I was way more confident last time we did this, and obviously it didn't pan out. So
it's a lot more crazy now, though, with injuries. Let me get to a question real quick. Why is everyone scared of Michael Thomas? Hollis Edwards is thinking of playing Michael Thomas over Devontae Adams. So the real reason with Michael Thomas is that there's just a lot of weird random drama with him. It seemed like, I don't know, it kind of seemed like he might have been going down the AB route a little bit, which was worrisome for sure. And he didn't have that many targets last week. So they just like to spread the ball around a ton, and that's the real reason why no one wants to be on Thomas that much, although I do think he's a fine play. He just didn't exactly look like himself, though, of previous years. That's my biggest worry.
I like, and if you ever hear a high ankle sprain with any receiver, really any football player, it's always more worse than it is. I feel like more often than not, it's one of those things where it's just going to take a little while. And I'm not saying you just keep him on your bench in season-long fantasy, you're playing him, but you just have to temper expectations until he starts getting going.
Although fun tidbit, I actually sat Michael Thomas last week for Chase Claypool, which ended up working out. Although Claypool should have had a huge week, although he didn't. But that was a little fun little thing.
There you go.
But yeah, the whole high ankle sprain. That's why I was like watching him to see how he'd respond, and he just didn't look like his old self. So
he'll get there. It's just, and again, that's why it took so much longer for him to get on the field. Then remember they said he was confident he'll play the following week.
Yeah.
If you hear a high ankle sprain, it's all right. You better start doing plan B and plan C. So on that note, we have the Broncos at the Raiders. Raiders are 4-point favorites here. And then, a couple notes here. Derek Carr, he has the third best touchdown to interception ratio this season. He's thrown 16 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. It's kind of interesting note. For the over-unders, the over is 7-1 for Las Vegas games this season, tied with New Orleans for the highest over percentage this year. And I mean, otherwise, I'm not sure who you like here. I've got a feeling you like Philip Lindsay. I'm just hunching because I know you're a fan of his, but who do you like in this?
So yeah, I'll get into it. So you talked about Philip Lindsay. I do like him. The problem with him is that he's virtually been a zero in the passing game, which has been crazy. You wouldn't expect that. The problem with him is that Melvin Gordon is a true 3-down back. Melvin Gordon, people don't give him enough respect because of what he does in the pass blocking game. The guy is top 10 in that in the league, and he's still a quality runner. He catches the ball in the backfield. I know Denver fans kind of hate him right now because he's had some fumbles, and Lindsay's looked like a beast. So neither of them are spectacular plays because they're both good plays, but they kind of eat into each other, obviously. So if I had to choose one, it'd be Lindsay. But for me, the top plays on this game are Drew Lock, who Drew Lock had 48, 41, and 40 passing attempts the last 3 weeks, which is absolutely crazy. Yep. He's looked horrible, but he's kind of Blake Bortled his way into fantasy relevant the last 3 weeks pretty much. Even if he scores like 15 DK points, that price point's not going to hurt you. And the Las Vegas Raiders over the last 4 weeks have been a bottom 5 pass defense as well. So I actually really do like Drew Lock at this price point. It makes a ton of sense. And then really the problem with Drew Lock is that you don't know who to stack him with unless you go with Noah Fant. But at 4.9, that's tough for me because you got Evan Ingram and you got Dallas Goedert a little bit earlier. So, maybe you just stack Drew Lock with Denver D and just hope that they don't go negative, because that's really my lineup path this week. Although I don't mind Derek Carr, but also with him, you don't know who's going to be the one catching his passes. Do you have who would you choose for receiving options in this game if you had to choose one from each side? That isn't Darren Waller, okay?
I know. Well, that would be my answer. The interesting note for me is it's the college teammate battle, Ruggs versus Judy. I find that fun. So, I mean, I'd maybe say Judy on the Broncos side. I don't know about Ruggs for the Raiders. I think Renfro might be a safe option outside of Waller.
Safe.
Yeah, I know. But it's not fun. It's not sexy. I'm starting him in one season-long fantasy league. Yeah. So I'm not thrilled about it. But it's just same thing with Derek Carr. It's just the touchdown to interception ratio. It's just a matter of if he gets enough volume in this game. I'd probably say those two. That's a tough one. I'm more excited, honestly, again, about the running game with this one too. Another note, the Raiders, the 6 out of their last 8 or of their 8 opponents so far this season, have had exactly 2 rushing touchdowns. So good chance they're going to cross the goal line with a running back. Actually, I take back what I said. I think Melvin might be the one, because only 1 out of the first 7 rushing touchdowns for the Broncos have been from Philip Lindsay. So Melvin Gordon might be the play this week on the Broncos side for the rushing attack. What about you for receivers?
Yeah, the receivers there for that game, it's just a stay away for me, really. I don't mind the Carr, Aguilar stack if you're going to go with that for DFS purposes, but really it's tough. If I had to choose one for Denver, I still would go with Tim Patrick, I think. But it's such a toss-up. I hate that, to be honest with you. It's weird because Drew Lock is my second favorite quarterback on the slate, just given his price point and whatnot. It's Kyler Murray, then Drew Lock, but I hate that because both of them are guys where I'm like, you don't need to play their pass catcher, which is never a good strategy, and
No.
that's what we have this week.
And like I said, the Hunter play in season long is a desperation start.
Yeah. Let me get to Andre's question real quick. So Andre's thinking about stacking the afternoon games in the main slate, and I'm all for that. Definitely do that. Early slate, I would just stay away from mostly, so I would definitely go with that approach. It's going to be weird because not going to be winning anything until probably 5 hours from now when the afternoon games start to pick up. It's just a weird feeling, but
yeah, I agree completely. It's I almost like, again, I kind of like the noon slate just because of all of the unknowns, and I kind of like the fun and excitement there, and you're just, again, playing it safe, and I wouldn't do any crazy crazy
entry amounts.
Yeah exactly. But as far as like I don't dislike doing a lineup for that. On that note, and then also Vegas are 4-point favorites. Who do you got in this one?
Vegas is 4-point favorites, huh? Wow. I thought that game would be closer. I'm going to go with Denver with that one.
I know the 3-5, 5-3 matchup, and divisional matchup. It's
yeah. Huh. Yeah, I thought it would be like a 1-point spread, to be honest with you there. Broncos D is just pretty good, so
yeah, I like the Broncos. I like the Broncos in this one too. I mean, just again, the Raiders defense, they give up rushing touchdowns. You mentioned about Drew Lock. As long as they don't completely abandon the run and are, as long as the Broncos are being smart as far as strategy goes from a X's and O standpoint, I like them in this game too. That's a good call. Chargers, the 2-6 Chargers are at the 5-3 Dolphins. Wow. Miami, they're just 1-point favorites. I mean, let's be honest, Herbert and the Chargers find a way to stay in games and lose these just painful losses left and right. Yep. So I think 1-point spread is right on the money there, because who knows? I mean, I don't know what you think as far as the quarterbacks go. I'd probably like Herbert over, but still, even Miami's defense has been solid, right? Like, yeah, I don't know.
All right, you touch on the receivers that you like in this one, and then I'm going to go ham on the running backs because it's a lot of sharp plays there, and I want to touch on those. So you go on the receivers, and I'll go with the running backs there.
Oh, geez, the receivers.
Keenan Allen.
Yeah,
gotta play him. That's about
Keenan Allen. And then on Miami's side, I mean, like I still haven't really figured out Tua's guys yet.
Yeah, especially with Williams out.
Right, and so honestly, I wouldn't even touch any.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know if you can figure out someone that is going to do any better. I'm more intrigued about for as much as I've been really receiver heavy this week and excited or this season about receivers, I'm all about the running backs this week. And I can't wait for what you're about to talk about.
All right, so yeah, let me get into it because this is one of the passion points for me on Twitter when I start to see some like dumb takes where you can tell people aren't watching film, they're only looking at stats, and they're not even looking at the full stats, like snap counts, like that matters. Oh my god, it's so frustrating. So first of all, I will say Kalen Ballage did look good. He looked good. He actually looked good for the Jets. I was really shocked that Adam Gase was using him as a third down running back. He's kind of a poor man's Todd Gurley, but he honestly hasn't looked that different from him this year, where the previous year dude had like no hip flexibility, was just trash. Doesn't look bad now, but Troy Maine Polp is most likely back tonight, and he was the go-to running back when Justin Jackson needed to be spelled in week 8 against Denver, and Denver is a good run defense, and he was able to score 14.5 DK points. He looked much better than Kalen Ballage and Joshua Kelly have looked, but that's not the one I even care about. That's not the passion point. Salvon Ahmed. Dude had the most running back snaps for the Miami Dolphins, and he looked great. Now, he didn't look as good as Myles Gaskin, but he was very similar to him. The vision for Myles Gaskin is pretty good this year, where Ahmed, he missed some open holes there that he could have got much more yards, but he looked great. He needs to get used in the passing game a little bit more, but a lot of people were going with Jordan Howard. A lot of people were trying to get Matt Breida, and some people are worried about like DeAndre Washington and Patrick Laird. No, it's Matt. He played the most snaps. He played 48% of the snaps and looked good doing it. It's an easy matchup against the Chargers. At 4K, I like him. Which one did you think I was going to go off of? What did you
see?
think?
I thought you were going to have some sort of take on Kalen Balaj because, the Gase effect. Like there's the revenge game narrative. I mean, the fact that Miami tried to trade him, then he failed that physical, so they sent him back, and just there's so much there. I just I thought Kalen Balaj, and he had at least a little bit of snap count opportunity and stuff like that, and they brought him back up once again. And I'm not a Kalen Balaj guy at all, but again, opportunity and the Gase effect, I thought you were going to have a take there.
Well, the take is that he literally just looks like Todd Gurley, just in a different uniform, which is, I think that's kind of a hot take. And he looked good in the passing game with the Jets. The thing with him is that Troy Pope is most likely back, who looked good. If Troy Pope was out, I'd probably be playing a ton of Kalen Balaj. But to have like the projected RB1 at 4K, that's Troy Pope, and also Ahmed there.
Yeah, I see Aaron commenting DeAndre Washington.
Yeah, I don't. It could be. That'd be shocking with how good Ahmed looked. That's just what it. And I'm probably saying his last name wrong, but he just looked good. So that'd be really shocking to me. Might be a split book.
Right. And as far as the game goes, again, the 1 point spread. Who are you taking?
Jeez. I would say it. I mean, the Chargers are probably the better team, but they just can't figure it out. I'm going to go with the Chargers, I guess, which kind of never feels good because they're going to find a way to mess that up. But I'll go with Chargers. I still like the Dolphins, dude. They're like my third favorite team. Chargers are like my second favorite team. So
I think I'm going to take the Dolphins here. Yeah, I don't know. And I haven't seen enough of Tua where he hasn't necessarily passed the eye test for me. They've just been the better overall team, and I can kind of see that applying here. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins, but I wouldn't really touch this game otherwise. Another huge matchup here on the NFC West: the Seahawks 6-2 at the 5-3 Rams. Rams are 2-point favorites, which is interesting. The Seahawks offense just leading and scoring 34.3 points a game, but the Rams defense, they're doing a fantastic job, allowing an average of 19 points per game, second best in the league. So you got the best offense against the second best points defense. So you have that narrative there. What do you think about this game in general?
So just real quick on the defense, since you brought it up, my typical strategy in DFS is to find the lowest price defense that's not going to go negative, because more times than not, if you pay it for a defense, it doesn't reward you that much, especially in cash. So
that's why I started Cold Steve this week in regular fantasy, because they don't go negative.
Exactly.
I'm like, oh, that's the way to go.
It's weird that that's the strategy, but it just is. But the Rams are sitting at 2.2K. And I know the Seahawks are an electric offense, but obviously they're still without Chris Carson. I don't think they're going to score many points. I think it'd be like 2 points, but I don't see them going negative. So that's kind of intriguing to me. But other than that, my main cash build might just be stacking Jared Goff with Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and then moving on from there. I think that's pretty much the simple lineup approach for DFS purposes, which feels weird trusting Jared Goff in cash, but the guy's actually been pretty consistent. His floor this season has been 11.5 DK points. Twice he did that, but other than that, he's been pretty solid, around 15 DK points per game. He's averaging 19.6 on the season. Given the matchup, how much that elevates quarterback's average is like 11 DK points per game. So, Jared Goff had 19. You could say he would get to 30 today, although I don't see that happening. I think 20 is safe for him, so I like that approach.
What do you think of Josh Reynolds? He's seen targets of 8 and 9 respectively in the past couple of games. He's been, in this expanded role. He's been getting a lot of snaps. He's, wide receiver 3 type, but Yeah, I mean, he's getting a ton of targets against a pass defense that's just allowing a lot. A juicy matchup there.
Yeah, it's weird because at the start of the year, it was Van Jefferson was like the receiver number 3, which was strange.
Yeah.
Honestly, that he was right away. Then Josh Reynolds came back, and Josh Reynolds has kind of taken a lot of targets away from Tyler Higbee and Gerald Everett as well. So, like, his role really hasn't changed that much. Their targets have just been working his way instead of the tight ends a little bit more, which is kind of strange. I actually don't mind it as like a GPP flyer. You could easily do like a run it back stack with Josh Reynolds there. So Jared Goff, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and then Josh Reynolds is on the same team. You could even do that. You could do this massive stack and feel good about it. I really don't mind that at all. So nothing that I go crazy with, but I'm going to throw one in there.
I'm very intrigued by him just because, again, yeah, he played it looks like 49 out of 68 snaps last week, if I'm not mistaken. He's getting brought in 4 of 9 targets, against the Dolphins. But apologies. But yeah, no, the opportunity is definitely coming there. I hate when you open up a link and then it just starts auto playing videos.
Yeah, I got you.
So yeah, no, I like Josh Reynolds this week in the passing game as a nice, sleeper cheap play.
Yeah, I really don't mind it. That's actually a pretty solid call there, and the floor has been there for him as well. Let me answer. Got a question from Ajay real quick. Thoughts about playing Bengals D or Jags D? Jags D, no for me. Rodgers just doesn't turn it over that much. Jags D still isn't that good. Maybe Bengals D, although I don't feel good about it. I'd much rather play like Rams D instead. So,
yeah, no, I agree. They're I'd rather do it in that sense, just because they've always been such a good defense. Again, the negative points take, just avoiding that more than anything. And then if for some reason a big defensive touchdown or special teams touchdown happens, then it's even bigger win. Outside of doing the like flexing against the streaming against the Jets type of thing.
Yeah.
But that's what I got there. I'm reading Aaron's comments right now.
They're funny. Aaron's a funny dude.
Best value Jimmy John sub.
I guess Little Caesars is the best value out there, but whatever. Mike Davis, thoughts on him? Mike Davis, I think he'll hit value at his price point. I think he'll get enough targets, but that Bucks D is really good. I worry about him having a huge upside game, where there are some strong pivots that we just touched on. Troy Maine-Pope, Sullivan Ahmad there for the Dolphins. It's just a bunch of quality like pivot plays for Davis, who would probably be chalk.
I'm sorry, did you touch on the running backs in the Seahawks and Rams?
No, because I don't want to. I don't want to play.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And then on that note, as far as the game goes, Rams 2-point favorites. Who do you got in this one?
Whew. Do you have any of your historical data on that pulled up or no? If you don't,
I mean, this will be big for the Rams. I mean, they haven't had like this type of an offense face off since week 3 to the Bills. It looks like.
It's a stay away for me. I'm going to go with the Rams just for purposes, but
favorite, a home team. I'll take the Rams, even though the home and away is a little different this year. But
so Aaron's wondering about Jakeem Grant real quick, so I'll answer that question. So Jakeem Grant had been like a sleeper for me like last year and the year before that, because he was really good in preseason. He should have been being used like Tyreek Hill, and they just never used him that way. So it'll be interesting to see if he does get used that way a little bit more, some quicker, efficient pass routes or passes for Tua there. You could see that happening in this game, although I think a lot of the targets are just going to go to Mike Gesicki instead. Be interesting to see kind of who steps up receiver-wise for the Dolphins. With Grant, it hasn't happened yet, and it should have, so you just kind of wonder why that is, and I just don't see that happening this week.
Okay, I do have one note. Did you talk about Goff and Wilson?
So I was wondering about like Goff specifically for betting purposes.
Goff, over the past 2 seasons, he's averaging 331 passing yards in his 4 meetings with the Seahawks. And Seattle isn't stopping anyone right now.
Makes me want to do the eyebrows there.
Right.
Playing the cash.
Third, and then week 9 marked the 3rd time this season that a quarterback has scored more than 34 points against the Seahawks. So, yes, I like Jared Goff this week. Also, just from a betting standpoint, since drafting Russell Wilson in 2012, Seattle, they're 23-10-2 against the spread as an underdog. Best mark in the NFL over that span. So
that's pretty crazy too.
Yeah. So maybe you do want to consider Seattle then.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not touching it.
No.
Niners 4-5 at the 6-2 Saints. The Saints are 10-point favorites at home. They definitely have become pretty hot team right now. The Niners, they're banged up, but on the decline. This could be Michael Thomas's first game, his bounce back game, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
The last year when they faced off against San Fran, he caught 11 catches, 134 and a touchdown. But again, it's not the same yet. Let's see here. Oh wow. Okay, so here's the Jimmy G effect right here. Even though you can say what you want about him as quarterback, they have a 22-8 record with him as the quarterback since 2017. 5-22 with anyone else in that span.
That is pretty crazy.
You kind of expect backups and whatever, but still that much of a drop off when you think, Jimmy G, is he that good? And there's a lot of question marks there.
Yeah.
So that's just a funny stat there.
It is.
Also, since week 5, the Niners are bottom 10 defense in opponent completion percentage. And Drew Brees has completed 78.9% of his passes over the past 3 games. So Drew Brees actually not a bad play this week at all.
I don't mind that. You could. This is another game that I think you could actually stack there if you want to go with Brees or if you want to even go with Mullins, because Mullins is priced at 5.3. I think he hits value there, so you could easily stack this game. We'll go Brees. I'm just going to do a quick lineup stack. Michael Thomas there. A lot of people are wondering if he's going to get going. He could. You got Ayuk there, who Ayuk the last 2 weeks over 20 DK points each game. We saw Richie James in that same role just go off. And even dating back to when Deebo Samuel was out, he had, I think, 17.2 DK points. So 4 straight weeks where the person in that role has been over, 17 DK points or 16 DK points, whatever it was. That's a nice safe floor. You got yourself set up with a decent game stack here. Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Ayuk, that's a solid base set for that. And then you could easily go back to Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods in the afternoon slate. And then, you're sitting pretty with some high upside receiver plays there for the afternoon slate and looking pretty good. So I will say the Niners tight end situation is an interesting one to me. I worry. I'm playing Jordan Reed in season long. Not sure that's correct because Ross Dwelly has been the leading snap count guy. And also, he's been getting okay target amounts. He's had over 8 DK points the last 4 weeks that George Kittle has been out, which nice solid floor there. So I think Jordan Reed has much more upside for DFS purposes, but Ross Dwelly has a decent floor there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that game is interesting, and again, 10-point favorites.
Mm-hmm.
What, as far as that goes, I think I'm going to take the Niners to cover, not win, but cover.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of those Niners. I feel like are one of those teams where they're able to, when expectations are low, they're able to exceed them a little bit, and then again, they kind of go against expectations. It's like the Vikings when they're one of those teams that when you're going into a week and you're thinking, oh god, this is going to be ugly, then they somehow deliver. So that's an interesting note there. Also on that note, anything else you wanted to hit on with that game?
No, I'm good with that game.
Okay. It looks like we just have a couple more. The 8-0 Steelers at home. I saw one note. The Steelers have their percentage of winning their division winning their division versus the Eagles have a higher percentage according to whatever statistics winning their division for the Steelers right now, despite being 8-0. So that's interesting. Big Ben, he's back after the COVID-19 list, whatever. Sounds like he's going to be playing. It'll be literally, he's going off of one walkthrough, whatever.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't like I don't know. I like quarterbacks when they're not prepping that much. Like they don't overthink things. I don't know. It's that doesn't concern me at all. It's just a matter of how he's feeling. The Steelers lead the NFL with 32 sacks and are second in pass rush win rate this season. And the Bengals have allowed 28 sacks, second most in the NFL, and 27th in pass block win rate. So,
Yeah.
If in regular fantasy, if you have Steelers defense, you got to be giddy right now, just for all of the sack opportunities and hopefully forced turnovers. But I mean, all in all, I just like as long as Big Ben is good to go, I like a lot of offensive players for the Steelers this week. What about you?
Yeah, Big Ben, I don't really worry about him too much. Coming back from the COVID scare, not practicing, so. Yeah, you could play a lot of the Steelers in this one if you wanted to go that route. I still really like James Conner going against the Cincinnati Bengals, who have given up the most or second most yards per carry. It was weird that he didn't go off last week, and I expect that to regress back this week. And you could even play Giovanni Bernard as like a run it back play. Running back wise, he should have a safe floor, getting used in the passing game a little bit. And then if you wanted to go like Chase Claypool, T. Higgins or something like that, you could do that as well. So it definitely is a very interesting game to game stack. Eric Ebron at 4.4 in this matchup I do like, but it's a little bit too priced up for me.
And as far as betting goes, like I said, it's 7.5 point favorites for the Steelers.
That seems a little bit too high, doesn't it?
It does, and also get this: Cincinnati, they're 31-16-2 against the spread as a road underdog, second best cover percentage in the NFL, and that's so.
Bengals are a better team than that. That's surprising.
Yeah, so I like the Bengals to cover, Steelers to win.
Yeah,
and I mean, obviously, with just they're due too. I mean, the Steelers are bound to. Let go of one game sooner or later. The Sunday night matchup, very intriguing. You got the two dual threat quarterbacks. Well, I mean, Cam is literally just one threat, and that's running right now. But Ravens 6-2 at the 3-5 Patriots. The Ravens are 7-point favorites. It's so weird seeing the Patriots be so dogs in so many games now. But
yeah, we'll touch on this game and the next game real quick here.
Yeah.
Got to get back to the 9to5 Sports page real quick. So, I'm going to go with the Ravens at that one. I got them at -7. I think they're going to win by more than that, especially if – actually, I don't see how the Patriots do well in this game. I know the Ravens have struggled, but for me, I just don't see how the Patriots figure this one out.
One interesting thing, too, like anything, like does Jacoby Myers, like anything, like because he had, 169, 12, and – 14 targets.
Yeah, I like him like season long, but for like DraftKings purposes, I haven't looked at the showdown contest or even if they have it out yet. I don't know his price point. I'm assuming it's going to be really juiced up after that price point, and heck, it was even juiced up last week. So that's my worry there.
Yeah, and Cam Newton hasn't thrown a passing touchdown 4 straight games. Interesting there, but I mean, obviously he's been scoring on the ground. He is already breaking like records as far as quarterback rushing touchdowns so far this season. So again, you have to hope and expect him to score using his legs. Yeah. And then as far as the spread goes, Baltimore, they're 7-point favorites. Yeah, I like Baltimore there too. I think they're going to put up a lot of points in that one. I don't know if it'll be that much fun to watch tonight, quite frankly. And then finally, Monday Night Football, the 3-5 Vikings at the 5-4 Bears. Obviously, the Vikings are on the upward swing. The Bears have been collapsing in front of our very eyes, as kind of expected. Well, very expected. But the Vikings are 2.5-point favorites. I'll say this once. I'll say it a million times. You have the classic Cousins 0-9 on Monday Night Football. I don't like from a fantasy standpoint. I don't care about it at all. But he does struggle against the Bears, and I don't have the numbers for you, but it's been ugly against the Bears. The past he's played 3 games against the Bears now with the Vikings. because the Week 17 matchup last year. But so, and here's the other thing too. I mean, the Vikings at Soldier Field, they're I think 3-15 since 2002.
Jeez.
They literally, no matter how good they are and how bad the Bears are, it doesn't matter. And you also have the Nagy giving up the play calling narrative. There's, honestly, between starting Cousins and Foles right now, maybe
it's rough. That's going to be
rough for a Monday night slate is, I guess, what I'm getting at. But I actually will be taking the Bears to win this one.
Okay.
I've been saying that. I've been pretty vocal about that just because I just, me knowing the Vikings, it's just how it is.
I kind of like the Vikings, to be honest with you. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, obviously they have the momentum right now. They've kind of established a running game, but and if they can continue to establish that, then I like their chances. But if early in that game they can't get that running game going, I think it's going to be an ugly game. I think it's going to be a low scoring, in the trenches type of game. But here's the thing: the Vikings will be without their number 1, number 3, 4, and 5 cornerback again. And I don't know how Zimmer and company, if they get the pass rush going, it's okay. But and it's not like that their pass defense has been better now. I mean, it's couldn't get any worse than before. They've just been able to control the game on offense. But again, it's this patch secondary, and I mean, it's why Devontae Adams, outside of how good he is, he still put up just insane numbers despite Dalvin Cook just running the ball. So, Allen Robinson, I think, would be a good play this week.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we'll just wrap it up real quick. Darnell Mooney, Allen Robinson, and Justin Jefferson, I like a decent amount, but that's decent. So real quick, I'm going to answer Andre's question, then we'll be getting out of here. So 3 favorite receivers in cash: Diggs, Allen, and then Ashley Sterling Shepard. I'm factoring in price point a little bit there, but I like those 3 the most. And then you got Woods and Cooper Kupp as well. But that's all we have for you guys this week. I have to head over to the 9 to 5 page and make some updates there. Brooks Radio was on this week. I'm not sure if we will be next week. Might be going up north. We'll see about internet situation, but we'll try to figure it out. I'm sure the week after that's Thanksgiving, and then I'm getting married the week after that. So we'll figure out what we're going to do with the live stream there. Might be a pre-recorded thing for the next 3 weeks, unfortunately. So we'll see. But everyone, give Brooks a follow. You want to give him your Twitter and social media?
Everything: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, at Brooks Radio.
The newest TikTok star, Brooks Radio. It's true. Look it up.
Far from it. I don't think I've posted anything in like a good month and change, but still, all in all, country music and sports, mostly Vikings overreactions and underreactions. So
that fan jam thing is pretty sweet. So if people want to check that out, they should check that out. But all right, thanks for watching.